Hi, and welcome to week 9 of the high school football season. I'm Kelly Hines here with Barry Lewis. Barry, for a third straight week, we had a number 1 team go down.
Yes, last Thursday in Class 4A, Wagner, which had been number 1 for a couple of weeks, went into Catoosa, which was number 2, and lost to Catoosa 45-27. So the Indians are now number 1 in 4A. I thought that Catoosa would have a good shot at winning the game. I thought it was going to come down to the wire, but I never would have imagined that Catoosa would have won by 18 points and dominated the way they did in the second half. Give Catoosa's offensive line a lot of credit. They dominated. Cole Schulen had a great night running the football with 155 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Levi Browning also had a good night running the ball with 3 touchdowns. And he also had a very good game on defense before he suffered an injury in the third quarter and had to leave the game. Hopefully, he'll be all right. Initial indications are that he's going to be okay. So because Catoosa really needs him if they're going to make a run for the gold ball. And Kelly, this week, it looks like there's at least the potential for another number 1 team to be upset.
That's right. This week there's a big game in 6A that will determine a district title, and Broken Arrow hosts number 1 Jinx, and this is a game that could be really interesting. I think I'm going to pick the Tigers with the upset. They have 2 really good running backs in Cameron Wren and Devin Thomas, who are both having really good years, and they are coming off a really close victory last week at Norman. Had to block a field goal in the final 2 minutes to come away with that win. But that impressed me, that they were able to handle adversity on the road and come out with a victory. And this week, a big test with the Trojans. Obviously, they're without Alex Ross, likely. And they still have a really good offense with Trayvon Burry. But I think that Broken Arrow, that's who I'm going with.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to go down to the wire. Hunter Collins has done an excellent job since taking over Jinx's quarterback job a few weeks ago, or more than a few weeks ago. But the Jinx offense really seems to be hitting on all cylinders. Jinx has won 8 in a row in the series. It's just going to probably go down to the final few minutes, I have a feeling. And it wouldn't surprise me if Broken Arrow won. So I think we're on the same page as far as that's concerned, but never count out the Jinx Trojans, that's for sure. And Kelly, what did you learn from all the games from last week? It was sort of an interesting week with all the games on Thursday. What struck you the most about last week's results?
Well, I was at Metro Christian for the game against Verdigris, 2 unbeaten teams that are having really good seasons, but the Patriots just dominated. Andrew Herron showed why he's number 1 in our all-world rankings. He threw for 4 touchdowns, 375 yards, and would have had more had a few receivers drop some passes, but he just was on fire. At one point, 13 straight completions. He just took the game over in the second half, and Verdigris is a good team, but they just couldn't compete with that.
That's 2 straight weeks that Andrew Herron against big-time opponents has really come through big. He did it the previous week against Talcott Sequoia with 4 touchdown passes and a last-minute drive that won the game. So he's definitely showing why that he is definitely living up to being number 1 in the all-world rankings, that's for sure.
What did you learn from last week?
I learned from last week that it's going to be very interesting in 5A as far as the District 5A4 Pryor with a very impressive win at Coweta coming off. It's so tough when you come off an emotional win as Pryor did the previous week against East Central, which had been number 1. But they got refocused and won at Coweta 7-0 to keep the district lead, and now Pryor is closing in on its first district title in about 30 years if it can win its last 2 games. This week should be a relatively easy game against Edison, and then they'll close it out against Central, which will be a very interesting game, very much a challenge. So that district race is still wide open.
All right, well, that's all we have time for this week. On Friday night, be sure to check TulsaWorld.com for the latest scores and updates.